Is it all too much? The upcoming new moon in Scorpio encourages us to look at the power of grief as we embrace where we may have watered down our relationships, especially those with ourselves, supporting the removal of any codependent masks worn by facing the shadows now rising. With Pluto crossing over, it is no longer better the devil we know, but the emotional strength and resilience we all too often forget to praise, found in any necessary endings, that will lift the veil on a light which can never be truly lost, the love and acceptance of ourselves. I've changed my mind, taken time to go within, feel into what is occurring, acknowledging my own connection, moving from denial to anger, wading through depression, bargaining my way within them all to ultimate acceptance. And it is here I've changed my mind. The song my husband chose for the new moon no longer fits with the information coming through. It probably never did, for me at least, as it provided no movement, didn't bring forth any change to what was occurring, just awareness of what I already felt and reflecting the obvious. Without embodying the full potential, my own, instead this morning feeling the bracing cold and bitter truth of shorter walks with my dying dog, it was Mary in my ears that brought joy to my feet. J. Blige, that is, with her rendition of Shackles, not the suggested Bright Eyes by Simon and Garfunkel. Of course, I could relate to the lyrics of Watership Down, recognizing the surreal-like state of no sleep and very busy dreams. Appreciating the river of death, not only collectively but with the passing of my father-in-law, that we are all experiencing. I also felt myself floating on the tide of a thinning veil, held in the uncertainty of fog, my husband now working away from home as my own career potentially transforms. Every shadow rising regarding loss and abandonment evident in the lack of spark that I felt within me, but also how I saw the world as a result. But, despite the connection to every word, they only gave me the process. It took embodying death itself to move me towards the guidance that you now read or hear. This morning, in sacred space, when it all became a little bit too much, praying through every stage of grief that I felt until I released and accepted the energy behind it all. Not change, circumstance, surrender even, but myself. The version of me that has walked this road before, with an open, albeit at times broken heart, stepping into my role as an archetype of change, supported by the very ancestors whose blood flows through me as I change my mind, connecting more to the movement towards seeing who I am. The ultimate teaching behind loss, the remembrance of love that remains steady throughout, the eternal white rose-like flag held up for all to see in the death card of the tarot. The purity of this wisdom as we remove the shackles, praising, celebrating any restrictions lifted as a result. From here, I felt the truth of a mind that has struggled, held down for what seemed like a lifetime, 16 years to be exact, as I prayed for the load to be lifted. Ironically grateful for the lack of hope felt, demanding I could take no more. I received exactly what was needed. Realizing with humour the message both songs, perspectives, and this new moon have in common. The return of light through the necessary endings that ultimately release our potential. Occurring in Scorpio, harmonizing with Saturn, despite its possible intensity, this lunar activity provides an opportunity to pace ourselves and moderate our impulses. related to intimacy, control, power, money, and sharing. Only in recognizing any codependency can we acknowledge how dependable we are. Through self-mastery, looking honestly at what now needs addressing, especially addiction, financial debts, OCD, and overall perception of ourselves and each other. From here, we can realistically be free from outdated beliefs and their restrictive emotional burdens by embracing what is missing in our lives as Pluto makes its final sweep through Capricorn. We can admit better the devil we know is no longer an option. Remove any masks or brave faces we've been wearing and truthfully, compassionately work through the necessary changes by delving deep into our own mysteries. Here we will receive quality over quantity in our relationships on all levels, especially those of a more spiritual nature. This will take focus and determination, however, if we are to avoid temptation into old, no longer acceptable behaviours. There is no denying what is happening. No amount of bargaining can change that. It is the acceptance of this discomfort that will ironically move us forward as we release the anger that has prevented any strength, love, and potential from emerging. By building trusting bonds, sharing and joining forces, strategic partnerships formed now are set to add life to waning creative endeavours. Provided, of course, we can slow down long enough to reflect and enjoy what we do have. Connected to the energies of Samhain, at its peak on the Day of the Dead, this new moon may feel a little too much, empowering the courage needed to make it through what could seem like a long, deep, heavy month. As we accept the support that we seek for any long-term goals is found by retreating, building our own strength, and coming to terms with what is occurring. Known as the devouring moon, we are encouraged to protect ourselves not only from the more visible demons this time of year, but the ruthless, hungry ghosts of desire, born through a primal fear of scarcity. Adapting to this almost kill or be killed mindset in some arenas will only exacerbate the push for survival over the dread of failure. As again we remember the transitional space we find ourselves in. No begging or pleading will speed the process. We must allow lessons from as far back as June to play out. Here we will be gifted with the other side of these experiences. Initiated by the solar maximus on the 26th and 27th of October, from now until at least 2025, as part of the sun's 11-year cycle, we can expect extra light to penetrate the environment we find ourselves in, including our bodies. Reminding us as the sun rises in the east, so too do we. It is never too late to begin again, no matter how broken we may feel things are. By channeling the often under-respected creative energy of grief, we are divinely supported and guided in the purification available of our own empathy and emotional capacity. With the Moon, Sun and Mercury in Scorpio, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and Mars in Cancer, we have a water placement so strong that any relationships compassionately made, including those of an ancestral nature, can only lead to meaningful exchanges, no matter how it may feel to begin with. If we can take the time to embrace the reprieve of what, for some, has nearly been a 2-decade-long dark night of the soul, now coming to an end. After which the month is set to increase pace through intense challenging opportunities to stand in our own power, including Mars opposing Pluto on the 3rd and subsequently entering Leo, where it will remain for its own retrograde in December, encouraging us to see any resentment rising as an opportunity to make time for what really matters. We also, of course, have the 11:11 portal and Saturn going direct on the 15th. Reminding us of any cause and effect, this Lord of Karma is sure to bring forth any necessary lessons to support swift movement in the deeper understanding of current tribulations faced. At the same time as the erratic Taurus full moon, due to its position with Uranus, it is in remaining open to any difficult information we are more able to navigate the veil of doubt and confusion being cast by Neptune, encouraging us to take the scattered, wildcard energy into the earthy, methodical, practical potential of this Taurian lunation. As we shift courses on the 17th of November, with the Sun opposing Uranus, any epiphanies, especially in our own feelings, may leave us feeling wiped out and ready to fully surrender and accept the graduation of our timely collective death and rebirth on the 19th, with Pluto finally entering Aquarius for the next 20 years. Until then, we must trust and keep the faith, not necessarily in the process, for this will be different for us all in how we perceive the external world, but ourselves and the inner messages now rising to be heard. Taking any time alone or without what we have once had to reflect and reconnect to the mind, body, and soul, especially to the part of who we were that we may have lost along the way. Occurring on the 1st of November at 12:48 in the UK, linked to the Five of Cups in the Tarot, it is the numerical vibrations of the Magician, Emperor, Strength, Devil, Lovers, Tower, and Chariot overall that encourages us to remember the way through something is ultimately through it. Stepping into the truth that we are all of the Chakana, the rainbow bridge between heaven and earth, this world and the next, as the veil of illusion between this and the light we came here to be is lifted, in how we navigate the emotional changes within, to form not only the external reflections we see, but choices we must now make as a result. May we all accept the power of grief for the brighter vision needed to move us forward, both individually and collectively. In deepest munay, I ask you now, what are you going to do? Take care. You know where I am. Kirsty.